PTSD doesn't have to be a curse. I'm going to tell you why. Doing the dishes. Come on, you're going to do them with me. Hey, I'm Jen, and I have got some dishes to do. I live in a bus, and today I'm telling you the story of my PTSD journey in hopes that it's going to help you through yours. Something I've learned about PTSD is it's not one size fits all. It's very different. My rings, forgot to take them off. It's very different for everyone. I've had PTSD for 13 years. There's different types of PTSD. My PTSD came from a car accident that took the life of our son. We were on our way to Disney for his 7th birthday, and my oldest son's playing games, and we were hit in our minivan, and Ethan, our son, was killed instantly. So I ran around the side of our vehicle because I didn't see Ethan moving from my line of sight.
Talking about Bubba, and it's making me really sad.
Yeah, it's okay to be sad. Sadness is okay. Yeah, that is really sad.
Did I tell you about your PTSD?
Yeah, I need to talk about it to help people. That's why I talk about it. Help other people that have PTSD feel not so alone. Where was I at? I live in a bus with my 3 kids and 4 dogs, and so and my partner, and it's a little loud and crazy in here sometimes, so pardon me for the wildness. That's just kind of what you get around here. So I had ran around the side of the vehicle and saw Ethan. And, you know, that image lives with me forever. And I have so many triggers related to my PTSD, and they happen even still to this day. So I've had PTSD for 13 years, right? And I really and genuinely have learned a lot. Genuinely. It has been the hardest journey I've had to walk, because it encompasses like losing my son, and that's just like such an immense amount of grief, you know? That's hard. That's like really freaking hard to lose a child, to lose anyone, really. You know, I don't compare grief. I don't think any grief is more than anybody else's. Grief just hurts, right? Like grief is just, it's sadness and it hurts. And so, you know, we have our accident. My partner Kyle's in the hospital for 5 days. He had a brain bleed and his spleen was ruptured, some broken ribs. Our other son, Ben, he was 13 months old at the time, and he was perfectly fine. But it killed Ethan instantly. That image and, you know, just the sounds, the sights, everything, the smells, live with me every day. You know, if I'm driving or riding and there's a car accident, boom, that's a trigger. It could really send me off. If there's sirens, boom, that sets me off. Something as simple as just getting into the car with my kids and my partner instantly puts me into panic. And so I've learned a lot of different ways to manage my PTSD. I've spent 13 years trying to figure it out and really learning all of my triggers. And, you know, there is still new triggers that come up. And so if you have PTSD, something that you can try, you know, because PTSD is different in everybody. It's so different and presents differently, and the triggers are vary. I had to try different things, and identifying my triggers was huge. Like knowing, okay, you know, if we're in a car and the brakes slam, or we're in a car and Kyle says, oh shit, I know that, oh, that's a trigger. And then we're breathing, you know, I'm like, oh, that comes from there. it's a trigger. I'm okay. I'm present in the now. You know, I'm working on focusing on this breath. Using my senses. So I think PTSD is something that I'll have forever, but I am not PTSD, right? I don't let it overcome me. I don't let it overtake who I am as an individual. It does not define me and my capabilities. Funny enough, we live in our bus and travel and drive in it on the road all the time. And on the road is where we lost our son, Ethan. And I'm sure people think, wow, how can they be on the road, right, after losing their child? And the thing is that I looked fear in the face and I said, no, I am bigger than my fears. My dreams are bigger than my fears. I knew that Ethan would never want us to not be happy or to not do something out of fear. You know, fear is a liar. Fear's great for alerting us of things. And it's our duty and job to make sure that we are managing our own emotions. If I didn't have PTSD, I probably wouldn't have discovered what each of my emotions mean, the triggers that they have, and how to diffuse them in pretty much every situation. My partner and I were talking the other day, and he's like, you know, you've really grown with managing your own anxiety and your own panic. And I truly believe it's because I got to know my emotions. A way that I got to know my emotions is I went out in nature. So we just bought these bowls at the thrift store. I am huge on thrifting. Love, love, love it. And so I don't like buying new dishes because they're expensive. So there's these tags that are left on there. So I need to, scrub-a-dub-dub these off. So that's what I'm doing right now. But something I do to get to know those emotions is I go out in nature and I find quiet places. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. This time is about you and getting to know you. So it's not about distractions. It's not about anybody else. What I would do is we get to go to such cool places in our bus, right? I would just go and sit by the water or the mountains and just breathe and just observe the world around me, right? And look at the trees and the birds. And if there was a mountain stream flowing, like I would watch the leaves flow by. You know, I would just find this state of inner peace, you know? And I could pull that out whenever I was triggered. So like if I was in a moment where I was triggered on the road, or, you know, say we're in a city and an ambulance drove by me, I could pull it out and be like, shift my awareness to my breathing, close my eyes, and visualize being by that mountain stream, being in the desert next to the saguaro cacti, going back to the birds chirping and the world around me. You know, that was crucial in so many times of panic and when I was triggered. How you doing, buddy? Good deal. I love that you love your nuggets. That was a big thing for me, is finding those moments of peace and then like storing them for when my triggers would come. Something else I learned is like the world is not responsible for my PTSD. I am responsible for my PTSD. And that means my triggers too. We are out here boondocking, which means we are off grid because our bus is self-contained, meaning we generate our own power, we bring in our own water. We are on limited water. So we have a 125 gallon freshwater tank, and we have to fill that up pretty much every 5 days. So when it comes to doing dishes, I have to be super, super quick, because we don't have a lot of tank space. So like we have a waste tank as well. And so that fills up rather quickly. And we need to conserve as much as possible.
Mom, you see my black cup? It was right on here.
Yeah, it's right here. I got it. I will wash it for you. You know, for me, my panic attacks used to be really, really bad. Like, oh, I would go to this super dark, dark place and just feel so removed from the world. They used to be really, really awful. And throughout the years, I've found ways to make it to where I'm not on any medication. I'm able to manage my PTSD myself. And I do see a therapist, which I highly recommend for anyone, not just if you have PTSD, but like anybody and everybody needs therapy. It's so great to bounce that off of someone. That was huge in my PTSD journey. We're out of clean towels, so I've got to use paper towels. Going to see a therapist was massive. Like, you know, I truly think that is what helped me so much, was having a therapist and being able to like talk to someone about what was going on in my life and in my head, and, you know, gave me real solutions and practices in order to, you know, be able to grow through my panic attacks. Because, like, here's the thing, panic attacks suck. And PTSD is full of them. Like, sorry, I just want to give you guys a better view of being here. I'm really glad you came over today. Yeah, you coming over and hanging out and talking to me while I get these dishes done. It's so nice to have a friend come over and chat while you're doing chores, right? So if you're struggling with PTSD today, or panic, or anxiety, or literally anything, no, you're not alone. I promise you, you are not. I mean, there were some days, gosh, I just felt, I feel like I need to share this story. It was one Christmas. It was the Christmas after our accident. And man, that was a hard one. Like, that was a tough, tough Christmas. So I remember I had put out this snow decoration that Ethan had made in school. And it was a little fragile tea light candle holder, right? And this particular tea light candle holder ended up getting knocked off of the mantle that it was on, and it fell off, and like I just watched it shatter, and it felt like my heart shattered into a million pieces, because that was just a couple months later. I fell to the floor. I just crumpled, and everything was spinning around me again, you know? And I went into like this place of not necessarily not knowing where I was. I was there. I was just in a very dark hole. Like I felt like I couldn't see anything out. I knew at that moment I needed to go see a psychiatrist. I needed to get on some sort of something to help me get through. And so the first part of my PTSD journey was me taking medicine for so I was on medication, and I needed to be for like the first 6 months after losing Ethan. They put me on a heavy dose of lorazepam. I don't know if you've ever been on that, but they put me on that, and I really, really needed it, because I needed to be able to just be a zombie and function in life. But I knew that like that was not the end goal, right? Like that was not where I wanted to be. I didn't want to have to be on medicine for an extended period of time. Now, I want to note, everybody's different. Medicine is a touchy subject. I believe wholeheartedly that you need to do what you need to do for you. I'm not a doctor. This is just me sharing my experience of life. I did the lorazepam, and then I weaned myself off of that, and then just got on like a Zoloft. And I was on the Zoloft for a couple of years, and I was doing all right. My marriage started declining, though. My marriage really started declining. And I I felt abandoned and I felt lonely and I had childhood trauma, And so I turned to wine and alcohol, and it would numb everything. I just didn't want to feel. I just didn't want to feel anymore. And this was even with me on the Zoloft. It didn't help me much at all. It seemed like I was going in the wrong direction. And so, I was having a bottle a night. After I would get off working in my grooming salon, I would come inside because I would be exhausted from that. My partner had depression, still has it to this day. And he was, fighting his own battles and struggling with his own inner demons. And he had no capabilities to be there for me, right? So I turned to the bottle, and it got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. It was making me sick. I had put on so much weight. Like, I would just go out and party with friends and hang out and come in at all hours of the night, once every couple weeks. And it became a very unhealthy scenario. I stopped drinking. We bought a vintage bus, sold our house, remodeled the bus, moved into it, traveled across the country for the last 5 years, and I've really gotten in touch with my emotions. Something I do use for my PTSD that helps me greatly is my THC. I love my THC. I take gummies at night for sleep. It helps with my night terrors. I had really, really bad night terrors for many, many years, and I discovered THC and my service dog. I do have a service dog. He's actually about to retire. I've gotten to the point with managing my emotions where my service dog is about to retire because I feel, I want to wean myself off of needing him, and I have. And so that's been pretty cool. That's another option. If you have PTSD, you can get a service dog. You can train your own service dog. You can find a company that trains service dogs. So there are options. I have had my service dog for 7 years, and I absolutely he's been a lifesaver. That was another thing for my PTSD. He really saved me in so many ways. He just makes me feel like wherever I'm at, I'm not alone, and that's a pretty cool feeling. This is not the drawer that I need. PTSD is hard, no matter what form of PTSD you have or a loved one has. It's a difficult disability, and it's invisible, because you look fine on the outside. I look like I'm mostly fine. Well, that's just it, is that we make a lot of assumptions of people. And when people look fine on the outside, we think that they're, fine on the inside. Those of us with PTSD, it's very difficult because it's not like, our disability presents physically. We get a lot of judgment, especially having a service dog, that's something to consider. But overall, I am genuinely grateful for my PTSD. I am. Without it, I would not be able to manage my emotions the way that I do. Without PTSD, I wouldn't be who I am today. I'm at a point where if I've got a panic attack, I've got it under control, just me by myself. And that's 13 years of hard work. And it's beautiful work. And that work is worth it to me. I think, again, without living with PTSD, without experiencing what I've experienced, I wouldn't be where I am. And I can tell you that I live in peace every single day. Like, I can find peace every day, even in my triggers. It feels really good, and I want that for you too. So I hope that my story has maybe helped you in some way. If not, that is okay. I'm still gonna love you either way. We live in this vintage, well, we did live in a vintage bus, but this is our half-finished bus that we're in now because our builder, whole long story. If you want to find out about that, I'll leave that link in the description. Whole thing. But yeah, I'm really grateful that you spent a little bit of your time with me in my inner world today. I'm always really grateful when people show up and come over and hang out and swap stories, for a hot minute. So if you have a story that you want to share, please share it in the comments below if you feel called to share. I hope that maybe this video brought you a little bit of joy, some hope, maybe some resilience in your day. I do have a book coming out soon. In that book, I share very, very deeply how I did all of these things throughout my life, and I'm really grateful that PTSD has given me the wisdom that it has. So my kitchen is clean. Thank you for hanging out with me while I do some chores. I'm really grateful you were here today. Until next time, I'll be genuinely being.